Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we're going to translate a portion of a well-known hadith, an authentic narration from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that some of the scholars mention encompasses a quarter of all knowledge. Some said a half of all knowledge, and as some put it, all knowledge entirely. And he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innamal a'malu binniyat. And innama is actually two huruf, prepositions put together, right? The harf inna, used as a form of emphasis and often translated as certainly or indeed. And it's a harf nasb, meaning that it impacts the ism or noun that follows it and changes it into a state of nasb. And the state of nasb is typically shown with a fatha at the end of that ism. The other harf here is ma, and as I mentioned, ma has many different uses, right? And here, the ma being used is called ma al-kaffa, from the verb kaffa yakuffu, to restrict, prevent, or avert something. And it's referred to as such here because it prevents inna from affecting the ism that is acting as a subject or predicate within this sentence, as it normally would. And when they're brought together, innama is used to restrict the meaning of something. And this is called hasr, right? Which literally means to restrict or limit something. In this case, restricting the meaning of the noun that follows it. So it's placing the meaning of only on this noun. And we're going to see how this works as we're translating, inshallah. And then we have al-a'malu. An easy way to tell that this is a noun, it has al at the beginning. And this is the plural of amal, right? Meaning an action or course of action. So actions, right? If you've been following along with the essentials of Arabic grammar, you know that al makes a word definite. It's the difference between saying a pen, which is general, versus the pen, right? Specifying. But al can also be used to imply something that is universal or all-encompassing. And this is called al-istighraq. And this is why alhamdulillah is often translated as all praise and gratitude belong to Allah. So innama is putting a restriction, you could say, on the word actions. So he's saying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, actions are only, right? Binniyat, right? Two words here. Harf ba, which is a harf jar, and a harf jar impacts the ism that follows it, right? The noun that follows it, changing its state to a state of jar, right? Which is typically shown with a kasra at the end of that ism. On a basic level, it can mean in, by, with, about, right? Depending on the context of the sentence. And niyat, right? Al at the beginning are intentions, the plural of niyya, which is a feminine word. Easy way to tell that the word niyya is feminine, it has a ta marbuta at the end. So an-niyat, intentions. So to clean up this translation, putting it all together, actions are only by or according to their intentions. So we can see why some of the scholars mention that this hadith encompasses a quarter, half, or in some cases all knowledge, right? Because all of our actions being valid and fruitful in the dunya and the akhirah rest on the foundation of a sound intention, meaning the reward, good, or punishment of our actions is based on the intention that brought it to fruition. And of course, there are some things that are just neutral, right? We don't necessarily need to have an intention for them, like sleeping or cooking dinner for our family, getting dressed. But there's benefit in even having a good intention in these things, right? So that we maximize our blessings, we maximize our reward. You know, we can get dressed with the intention of just being fly, or we can get dressed with the intention of pleasing Allah, dressing modestly by not exposing our awrah, etc. Another point to mention is that, you know, it's easy to make an intention to distinguish sadaqah from zakat, for example, right? But it's very difficult to do something that has the potential to yield immense good, intending it purely for Allah's sake alone, as opposed to intending it for people. And all of these other vain things that tickle the ego of the human being, right? This is not an easy thing, except for those, of course, who Allah grants this sincerity. And we see in the Quran that shaitan, he swears by Allah's might that he'll misguide all of his slaves, right? Except those of his slaves who are mukhlas, right? Not mukhlis. So it's as if shaitan is saying, look, even the mukhlis isn't safe, right? And the mukhlis, they have to struggle and fight to free themselves in their actions from showing off, right? From vanity, from this false sense of superiority, jealousy, envy, right? And the list goes on and on and on. Whereas the mukhlas, those are the ones who Allah has chosen. He's taken care of their purification, right? And this isn't something that is attained through work and effort. It's something that's gifted by Allah, right? But for the rest of us, right? For the majority of us, right? Myself included, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And the whole intent is to keep these lessons very short. We're learning some Arabic, we're learning some vocabulary, but we're also learning something that we can take and apply in our own lives and hopefully benefit from and grow as a result of. And so I'll end with this last point, right? Because there's so much to unpack from this short but profound statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in this short statement, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us clear direction in fulfilling our purpose in life, right? Allah's given us so many things in life, right? Too many to enumerate. All of these things that we might find comfort or enjoyment in. And then there's many things that He's created, that He's made of service to us, right? But He's told us, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created the jinn and mankind except to worship me. And so if instead we're associating the creation with what should only be intended for Allah, then we're clearly far astray, right? And Allah describes the hearts and faculties of these human beings and jinn who are heedless of this fact. أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. Right? That they're like cattle. Bal. Actually, right? This is used to like correct something. Like, wait, actually, they're further astray. These are the people who are heedless. If you've ever passed by a farm and you take a look at these cows, they look like they're just, minding their business. Nothing alerts them, startles them. They're just doing their thing. And they seem like they're just lost in the sauce. But no, they're actually fulfilling the purpose that Allah created them for. They have their own form of worship, right? They provide us with milk, double cheeseburgers. They help the environment, right? The soil, on a more serious note, right? Bal hum adal. They're actually far more astray. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with these short words, he also reminds us of the purpose of our creation by giving us some perspective. That in all of the worship and actions that we do, in order for there to be good in them and for us to obtain good from them, they need to be motivated, inspired, and produced in light of our purpose. Because if this act of worship or quote unquote service to humanity is not done for the sake of Allah, then it's cut off. Because clearly it was done for the sake of the dunya, right? So may Allah Ta'ala grant us, true sincerity and accept from us our good deeds, our worship. And these are some short words that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has left us with that, we can easily memorize, remind ourselves with from time to time, share with our children, share with our spouses, right? Our extended family, inshallah, and hopefully obtain reward and benefit from that, right? Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.